Porcelain originated in China from where it reached Europe in about 1300. At this point, the Chinese already looked back on almost 600 years of experience in the production of porcelain. The Europeans began to produce china in the 18th century, for example in the famous Meissen factory. Meissen's popularity grew quickly not only in Europe, but all over the world, and its worldwide export eventually influenced markets, trends, and social conventions back in China. The brief history of porcelain exemplifies cultural flows between Europe and Asia, as they have been existing for centuries. Such transcultural flows and exchange processes represent the focus of the interdisciplinary research conducted at the Cluster of Excellence Asia and Europe in a Global Context at Heidelberg University.
Well, we would define transcultural as a very simple experience. Every single cultural thing, a novel, an institution, a word, your hairdo, whatever you take, is part of a transcultural exchange where there is adaptation and copying and redoing and so on and so forth. And this aspect is not a marginal aspect of it, that this is how cultures live, how cultures developed, and how cultures also self-destruct.
Professor Monika Junija is the first and so far the only professor of global art history in Germany. This professorship is one of 5, which the Cluster of Excellence Asia and Europe was able to initiate at Heidelberg University. For Monika Junija, transculturality is of fundamental significance. She analyzes pictures, objects, and ideas that mankind has always been transporting across their continental borders. This migration continuously produces new relationships. They become visible, for example, in this 500-year-old picture from northern India. It depicts the Greek philosopher Plato singing to the animals.
It's a subject which comes from Greek antiquity. Themes like this traveled over many centuries from the Mediterranean regions to Asia. This particular theme was part of a literary text that was composed by a Persian poet in the 13th century. And 200 years later, a Mughal artist picks up this text and translates it into an image.
The picture of Plato singing to the animals is merely one instance of cultural entanglement. Further research material can be found in the cluster's database network in the form of image or audio files, texts, videos, and synonym groups.
We were talking about Plato, so why not search for the idea? And there we will find a lot of synonym groups in the Chinese for this concept of idea. And we will see all the Chinese texts concerning these semantic groups. And this database combines Old Chinese and Modern Chinese.
Well, as an intellectual historian, it allows me to trace shifts of meaning in translation. So if I want to trace how the Platonic forms traveled from Greece through modern Europe, say Germany or Russia or France, to Japan and then China, I can trace how concepts were appropriated through translation, if there were any shifts of meaning.
The material in the database extends to the modern age. At the moment, researchers are busy scanning and documenting Chinese cartoons of Mao's times. The database network, which is called Heidelberg Research Architecture, is meant to become an important tool for all researchers at the cluster. Especially junior researchers such as PhD candidate Haifeng Nan from China benefit from these resources. Haifeng analyzes the role of the internet for the Chinese community in Germany. She holds a scholarship in the cluster's graduate program, which combines mandatory courses with independent research. About half of the scholarships are awarded to students from Asia and Western countries, respectively.
You see people from all over the world with different cultural and disciplinary backgrounds, and this is very important for my research.
The blogs and websites Haifeng Nan investigates are a characteristic example for today's global exchange between cultures. The comprehensive approach of the cluster, ranging from ancient to modern times, has come to attract researchers from all parts of the world.
Well, the cluster really gets you thinking outside your usual expertise. For me, it's made me go and look at a lot of published travel accounts and exchanges where the Europeans visited Asia that I only just barely knew before. And it's really changed the kinds of things I do work on.
Working with the cluster inspired Silver's research on the imagery of India in 16th century Europe. He presents some of his findings in context of the cluster's lecture series, The Power of Things. Things, such as the Chinese teacup, the picture of Plato, or the internet all represent the kind of cultural exchange which needs to be better understood in view of today's globalization and the challenges it brings.